Hello everyone, my name's Mark Geary, I'm the Distracted Baker. How are you today? No, seriously, how are you? Oh, that's a shame. But don't worry, because today I'm going to be making a really simple shortbread recipe that takes probably about 30 minutes until it's ready, so I hope you enjoy it. This is your ingredient and equipment list. Pause here while you gather these items and at any point in the video, should you need more time. We're going to start on some shortbread. So, I am going to turn off the fan, just because of that noise, while we're making shortbread. Does that help or does it make any difference?
I don't know anymore.
So Heather's lost the will to live. We'll try and find that later. It's probably in one of the cups somewhere. My will to live as long as my actual relevant threads. I don't know where they are. Tangent. Take a piece of that roughly fits your baking tray. Just to line your baking parchment, something like that. Use any butter. Make sure it's better with this actually if it's soft, but it's also good if it's not too warm, which is a bit of a weird combo, right? But it's important. We want the butter and sugar really first. Look at that, 124. I was so close to being perfect, and you know, I love being perfect, but
earlier you said nobody's perfect.
I said except me. Ooh, that was like 129 and a half. How did that not make a difference? I hate this sometimes. That was it. 130 grams of butter. The sugar, so 65 grams of sugar. So it's double, so it should be 195 in total. It's half, 50% of the other. God, I'm confusing things and I'm very sorry for that. One thing I find is that I like information really clear so I can understand it, but I realise when I'm talking that doesn't happen for other people. So
we'll put graphics.
I do apologise if...
We'll put writing here.
Yeah, we need to have writing there going, Mark just really needs to be quiet sometimes. Tangent. So 195 grams, so that's right. So what we do with this is the most important part of making shortbread, it really is, and you've got to beat it. So normally I'll cheat and put it in the stand mixer, but we don't need to do that right now. So I'm just basically gonna mix that in with the sugar. And because the butter's soft, it should work quite well and should incorporate quite quickly. So this really doesn't take long, and you can sometimes flavour this with a little bit of vanilla or something, but I'm going to try not to today. Again, this is like 4 ingredients in this biscuit. So, and it can be completely veganised as well. Just use Flora Buttery or any other brand of buttery kind of vegan spread, as long as it's actually quite a high fat content, because that's important. So what we're going to do is just mix this until the butter goes a little bit paler, and that can take a couple of minutes. So you're just beating that in.
Oh, that sound.
You like the sound?
Yeah.
Is it another Foley?
It's like a Foley sound, yeah.
I'm going to call that Sharon Foley. She knows who she is. My cousin. And then we'll go through them. Oh, no, she's not even Foley anymore. She's a Limby. I don't know what I'm doing. So, what is a Limby? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay, it should be.
Sounds like a bean, doesn't it?
A Limby bean. All right, no, I think I'll go for a Chris Foley. Who's all thinking. So there we go. Tangent button. Tangent. You can see it's starting to get just a wee bit paler. It's not as yellow as it was, and the way you can tell is if you put the butter against that, and you can see that it's slightly lighter and actually doesn't look any lighter at all. So I'm going to just carry on for a minute. So one thing I found, I think I've got carpal tunnel or something. My hands are like, they're not quite Mary Berry, but that was really bad. Mary Berry's hands. It's like a new song. It's like Betty Davis eyes. Mary Berry hands. She's got Mary Berry hands. But national treasure. I can't say anything about Mary Berry. Tangent. That'll be a tangent. So now this is definitely paler. You can just see from that it is definitely more pale. than it was. So that's where we want it. All of that, including a spoon, pop it on the scales. Start again. And there you go, and it'll have a 0. So we're gonna add some plain flour. You probably should sift this. It's not actually essential when you're making shortbread. So 145 grams of plain flour. And when I say plain flour, just plain flour, not strong flour, not bread flour. You don't need it for that. Just regular plain flour in the red bag. It's usually in a red bag. Right. So that's that. Do you know, I do actually have a sifter, it's in there, but I just can't be bothered to stand up and just go and get it. You know, for the inaugural episode of The Distracted Baker, just showing you it's just not important enough for me. And you know, there's me saying don't skip any steps, don't move. So anyway,
tangent.
I don't know what I'm talking about. 145 grams of that and 50 grams of corn flour. It's quite a lot. Now a lot of people only use about 10% corn flour. I use probably about 25% corn flour in the mix because it gives it a really nice crunch. So we're going to go to 195 with that. Right, so incorporate all of this. And now this, just slowly. What you don't want when you're making cakes that you do want when you're making bread is gluten. So if you start stirring, you'll get a really tough biscuit. So you've just got to gently kind of just bring it together.
Caress it.
Caress it. Treat it like a lover. I can't believe that. I don't caress David.
You treat him like a shortbread.
I treat him like bread, you know. I treat him like he likes kneading. He needs kneading. Is this allowed on YouTube? Am I going to get hate comments?
Have you seen YouTube?
Everything is allowed.
Tangent. It's another one.
Right, so you can see that's almost brought together. So rather than carry on now, I'm going to get all of this in here.
What's
Right.
that noise? Yeah, you do that. Sounds like a
The radiator possibly behind you.
No, coming from over there. There's a fridge open.
Fridge. There's a vibration coming around the room. It's a good
Because you
vibration.
didn't go over there to get your stuff.
Yeah, it's because I didn't go over it yet and get the sifter. It's the sifter going. Just getting the ump with me, just going, just you. Right, hang on. Who's going to like this?
Tangent.
Yep. And again, I have washed my hands, I promise. So you just start bringing that together with your hands. It's really easy. So there you go. So you just give it enough squeeze to bring it together, right?
Squeeze.
So not too much. Don't over. It should look quite crumbly and short. And then what I'm going to do, you can do this in 2 ways. You can either start rolling it now and then cut it out, put it on your tray, but put it in the fridge to chill. It's really important that you chill down shortbread because it won't melt in the oven and it just holds its shape much more nicely. But just chill it for maybe 20 minutes in the fridge. Right, so I've got something here. I've got this. This is actually a fondant roller and this is actually fondant mats, but just to save doing it all over the table. The table's actually quite good, but it's not completely flat. I'm hoping I don't need any flour when I use this, because if you add more flour, it just changes the texture somewhat. Thing about this is the basic shortbread dough as well. You can add anything you want to it. You can add a little handful of chocolate chips, some lemon zest, which I was going to do as well. So we've got like just a bit of the zest. Just put that in there. Some vanilla. Some white chocolate chips, some dried raspberries, dried fruit. I think always use dried fruit. Never use fresh fruit because it's putting wet in it, and it'll just go literally like that. And you want your biscuits to look. You don't want them to look. So that's a technical term.
Tangent.
Trying to roll this, but you can see because of the butter content and the butter's still quite wet. I'm probably going to need, but you really, again, don't over-roll it. If you start really giving it, you'll have some problems. And again, it's very, very short, which means crumbly, and it's going to give us some problems if we overdo it. But you want them quite thick. I'm not sure, you know. I'm not sure, Julie. I think I'm going to have to succumb to a little bit of flour. Now I'm going to bring out.
Ooh, what's that?
That's my sifter. So it also means you don't need to use a lot and you can put it on evenly. Now a lot of people say flour the roller, not the thing, and I'm like, that's nice for you. But I'm gonna flour this, but I'm just gonna flour it. Try not to use too much. Good thing about this sifter, although it's messy, just put a little bit of flour in there, and then just give it a light coating, and then it'll just be much easier to roll, as you can see. But again, you don't want too much. Again, with rolling, you're supposed to roll in one direction and turn the pastry or whatever you're using, not start doing this, but I'm still learning with that. And then you want your cutter, which is here. You can put it on the fluted one if you want, but I like them round. And often I do them too big, so this is actually, it seems quite small, but honestly, they'll be enough. So you just, as quickly as you can, pop them through. Also, I've put the oven on to 160. I think 160 fan, which is about 170 if you don't have a fan. So then we'll take these. Oh God, they're short. That's not supposed to happen. So I'm gonna get my spatula, which isn't actually the technical thing you're supposed to use. Pop it on here. That'll come together shortly. And then the same with this. So you've got little round discs, again, that aren't completely even. Some are thicker than others, but that, again, is
Much
fine.
like life.
Much like life. Thick and juicy. Been watching way too much Drag Race.
Tangent.
And then just bring it together, but don't overwork it. It's the same thing, because now we've added flour to it, remember? So it's already a slightly different formula? Does that even make any sense? You know, sometimes, you know when you're in your kitchen as a kid and you do like your little, I become a domestic goddess or something, and I'm talking to the camera, and then some of the things I say, I think they're just lies. I just lie all the time, just to kind of go, well, I think that's right, isn't it? So I need to make very clear that I don't know everything, and sometimes I don't know much at all. But I'll sometimes just take a position anyway, as if I do. I learnt that from my best pal Sam. That it's much more convincing to sometimes like go pretend like you know what you're doing, and then someone go, actually, you're completely wrong there, Mark. And then I'll go, all right. So anyway, that's completely
Lessons in life.
Lessons in life. Yeah.
Tangent. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Now, I'm going to put something on top of this. I'm just going to put some crunchier sugar on top to give them a bit more crunch. You don't have to do that. They can go in like that. They'll be absolutely fine. So, got a little bit of dark brown sugar. I mean, what I normally use is like golden cast or granulated sugar on top to give it a bit of crunch. Just pop them on here. It will just give it a little bit of a nicer flavour, actually. To be honest, I've never done this before with dark brown sugar. It might work. It might be a beautiful thing. It might just overwhelm a delicate flavour. Dark brown sugar is quite strong. Dark brown sugar is often used in things like gingerbread. Right, so now what we will do is chill these down, but due to time constraints, we're going to skip that point, but I would absolutely recommend chilling them down because these might spread a little bit more than they would normally. So just remember that we would have chilled these down if we had time. So we're going to pop these into the oven again, which is around 150, 160, and this is for about 20 minutes this time. So we're going to pop them in the oven. But keep an eye on them, right? So after 15 minutes, just check them. They should still be quite pale. Shortbread, that's the thing that's really important. If they go very brown, they're overcooked. They'll just be quite tough and quite dry. They'll probably taste quite nice anyway. But what you want, the secret with shortbread, and that's what makes it quite tricky, is you don't want it underdone, but you don't want it overdone. You want it just right, so it has a little bit of a crunch, but it's not doughy in the middle. And it's difficult to do because often when you put them out on the baking sheet, they're still cooking. So, they feel like they're slightly underdone when you take them out the oven, and then by the time you put them on there, they're perfect. But remember, look, this is supposed to be some basic cooking. It really doesn't matter. If you overcook them a bit, they'll taste really nice. And you'd have made shortbread biscuits, which is rather cool. I'm just going to check. So the way to check with a shortbread to see if it's done, it should be pale, but it shouldn't be really dark. So as you can see, it's still pale, and it's quite firm to the touch, which is a good sign. I reckon they've probably got about 2 minutes, and then they'll be good. So I can tell they're ready, and it's a weird thing, which I couldn't before. So if you just look around, you can just see they're starting to really just around the edges start to brown. They're not soft anywhere, you know, they're just slightly, they're quite firm. Let them cool on the tray for 5 minutes, because what happens is, because the fat is still hot, A, you're going to burn yourself, don't move them yet, and B, they'll be much more solid. They'll kind of, as the fat cools, they'll firm up even more, and they'll just be easier to move. So that's our very simple shortbread. Son, you'll be a spatula boy. So just pop them on. I mean, as you can see, they're firm enough, these ones. Now it's cooled down enough.
They look good, Mark.
Yeah, they look good. They've actually held the shape as well, which is quite surprising, considering I didn't really chill them down. So while chilling's important, it's important to chill. It's not the end of the world, you know, if you don't.
Oh, that's my alarm.
It's an alarm. Oh my goodness. That means that Julie has to go.
I have to go get kids from school.
Julie has to go. And I'm just going to try to kind of show you how good these shortbreads are. They're really crumbly on the middle. They're not cooled down yet, but I assure you, I'm going to take a taste. They're really good. Oh God, they're good. They kind of melt in your mouth, and that's what the corn flour does. It just gives it a really short texture. Try a bit, break a bit off because it's still quite hot. There you go. It's like gimme.
Sugar coming out.
And they melt.
Not bad. So good.
So they're soft at the minute, but they will kind of, they'll firm up even more as they cool. You should never eat them now. It's actually sacrilege. It's against the law. Scottish law. And these are perfect. I'm not just saying that. Because I'm not, but the shortbread is. So that's good. And I think
you said you were perfect.
I'm not perfect. Nearly. Just got a little bit to go. And then perfection, I'll be there. No, if only you knew me. The way that I know me. No. Good, thanks. Hello. Distracted. Oh, where am I? Don't forget to subscribe on the link below, The Distracted Baker, and follow us on Instagram @DistractedBaker for more recipes.